everybody, we are here at the, I don't know the exact name of the Nanofab facility.
This is the Scifres Nanofabrication Laboratory
At
within,
Purdue, yeah.
within the Birck Nanotechnology Center.
And this is Neil Dilley, who's been nice enough to have us come in. We're going to be using some of the assets in here in photogrammetry, not only to help the nano department here, but also to use it for the Oner episode that we're doing, collaboration with CET Purdue. But you were saying that this is a level 1 facility, and that if we have just so much of a small particle that you said lands on something, if the microchip goes bad, or I'm sorry.
Right, so dust particles are harmful for microelectronics. The smaller we make microelectronics, as we get into the nano scale, which we crossed over in about year 2000, we are now in the nanoscale features in the leading edge electronics. We need to watch out for dust and other impurities more and more. So we're relying on extremely small wires at the nanoscale, very thin layers of materials which are sub-nanometer. And so the behavior of the property of those materials and those devices is really affected by tiny amounts of impurities. So we have called a class 1 or ISO class 3 area of our clean room, which is basically literally a handful of dust particles in a cubic foot, so smaller than 10, so of a certain size. So that purity is very hard to attain, and that's done using this facility where we have a very aggressive filtration going on and a laminar flow of air. You see the floor is perforated, so there's a slow flow of air coming from above down through, and we have a whole system of air handlers on the other floor and a recirculation system to maintain temperature, humidity, and purity of the environment. And that's why we just had to go through this blowdown process to get in here to make sure that we are not contaminating it, because humans are the worst thing for a fab.
Really great.
The fab is what we call a fabrication facility, a clean room like this.
So we're gonna basically start the process of photogrammetry and lidar scanning, and you'll just, I guess, for now, just show us around.
Sure, yeah. Let me give you a tour of it. So there are 4 basic processes that go on in a facility like this in order to make advanced devices. One of them is called deposition, is where you have some clean surface. In this case, usually it's a crystal of silicon, sometimes another ceramic material, or other very clean, flat surface, and you put something down on it. You deposit it using a process we call sputtering or evaporation, where you basically evaporate a metal or some other material in a vacuum, and it coats it in a very precise way. And so this is the deposition bay, one of the deposition bays here, with a few different instruments here. The sputtering is one technique, which is a very well-controlled way of making ultra-thin layers. And there are other techniques that are here that aren't all represented right in this bay, but that's the one pillar of making things. So I'll take you to another bay here, where we have etching processes going on here. This is a Plasma Therm, is the company. It's an etch tool, and it uses plasma to etch a surface, and this one is a reactive ion etch. So it's a very advanced technique for removing material in a controlled way. Just like you want to do printing of something on a t-shirt, you make a pattern, and that's like the way we've made a pattern, and the area that's not protected by the pattern can get etched. And so that's another process of it. You deposit over there, you etch here, and the tool I'm going to take you next is the etch tool that I was talking about, which is called an ion mill. And that's a certain way of doing it. It's basically like sandblasting, but with atoms of argon gas.
Wow.
So it's atomic scale sandblasting. And so you can imagine the kind of precision that you can get with that kind of size of sand grain. So we're going to go over there and look at that. It's got a big chamber, which is a vacuum chamber, and inside it has got very little gas. almost complete vacuum. That number is 1.9 times 10 to the minus 8 in torr. 760 torr is 1 atmosphere. So you can think about that as being something like less than a billionth of an atmosphere of gas. And so that amount of vacuum in there is important for keeping things clean. So what we'll do in the instrument when we use it is to put a beam, we'll create a beam of argon ions by creating a plasma. You know how a neon lamp looks? That is a plasma of neon, and it gets excited and it glows red because that's the color of neon when the atoms de-excite from their high potential. And so this one will look a little bit purple when it's on because that's the color of argon. And you create a plasma of argon, and then just like in a TV, the old cathode ray tubes, you have a little grid which accelerates those ions out, and it shoots them at your sample, which you have sitting in there, and it's got a really well designed, TV set, which makes a very uniform beam of argon coming out, racing out at high speeds, and then it will hit your sample, and it will just physically, it's called physical milling, it will physically knock the material off the surface. And so it's a very elegant in some ways, in other ways it's very simple. Whereas other techniques use chemistry, either by just dipping it in a chemical bath or by using a reactive chemical ions. This one just uses argon atoms to blast it. And argon's kind of heavy, right? It's heavier than the usual gases in the atmosphere.
So for the layman here, in a way, this is a subtractive way of building things?
That's right. It's subtractive manufacturing. Yeah, it's like a mill in a shop.
Okay.
It's just that the mill, the drill head is atomic size. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's it's all kind of going at once there. The beam is about this big, and so it's the size of the beam. So we have samples that need to be smaller than that. Most of our samples are just little research samples. Most of the time people come here, they have a sample that's just a little square of something on silicon. That's usually what I see it. Crystalline silicon wafer. They're making up the beautiful new stack of never been done before, and and one of the steps is milling it in here. So I'm kind of jumping because I told you about deposition, and I've told you about etching, but I didn't tell you about the other thing. I kind of alluded to it briefly. That's the patterning step. It's creating a pattern, and we call that lithography. It's a term in art too, right?
Yeah.
Lithograph, right?
Yeah.
It just means writing in stone. That's what the Greek, origin of it is. This way, this lithography is photolithography, in which we do something similar to a photographic process of exposing film, but we use plastics that we expose to light, and when you expose a certain area to light, a certain light pattern, the area that's exposed lifts off, and you then have a pattern generated, and that can be on top of something, so that then creates the template for what you're going to make. You mill, and the resist, we call it, protects one area, and what's exposed gets milled away. And there are different ways of making that resist pattern, which I want to show you in the next bay. If it's okay, we can go to that next one, and then we can come back here. Okay, sound good? Yes. Here to you, inside it, is an advanced lithography system. So we do have some very nice pictures inside it if you want to see some of those pictures of the asset. But what it is that instead of using light that is shown through a mask, which is one way of doing lithography. You make a mask and you shine light through it onto your material. This way uses a beam of electrons. It actually can focus a beam of electrons to a nanoscale, below 5 nanometers width. And it can scan them across, just like an old TV would raster across, and make any pattern you design. And it's called electron beam lithography. And so it's not the fastest way to do it, but it is the highest resolution that could be achieved. And we have a world-leading instrument from a company named Geol, and we're going to get another one of these too, because we're looking forward to big expansion of collaborations where we're doing exploratory lithography for new devices. And so this is a great tool for academia, because we're trying out stuff. Try this, that. We're not making a billion chips, in which case you need to have a different technique.
You're researching for a template for a billion chips.
That's right, yeah. We're working with the next generation of materials, where the material itself has properties that we're trying to tune in, and the device geometry we're designing is also new. So this tool is really important. So this is sort of the cutting edge of very small resolution electron beam lithography. But we also have a direct writing lithography using a laser, which is light. Now, because light is a wavelength of hundreds of nanometers, it turns out you can't focus it any smaller than about that. You can't make less than one wavelength wide. It's called diffraction.
Diffraction, yeah. That happens in the camera when you close the aperture down too small.
That's right.
Yeah, you get diffraction, it gets fuzzy, and it actually starts to bend out.
Yeah, right. You get aberrations. Right?
Yeah.
And so the diffraction limit of light is, well, around the wavelength of light. So, those are 1 micron infrared lasers there. And you can get shorter wavelength ones, but you're still going to be at that few hundred nanometers. But it's very nice because it's fast, right? It's faster than this. And then this one is much higher resolution, much tinier pen to draw with. So this is some of the basic ways of making patterns. I told you about deposition, putting material down, patterning, creating a pattern on it, and then etching. And the fourth pillar, which is very important for producing a final material, is the thermal process. And that is where you heat stuff up to very high temperatures, and you can create through oxidation or other reactions at high temperatures, you can diffuse, and that is very important for creating devices. So the thermal is the fourth thing that we do here. And that's over in nearby. The ellipsometer, which is used to measure thickness optically. This is a profilometer, which has a tiny little stylus like a record player, and it drags it across the surface. And the KLA 10-4P7, drag it across the surface and measure change in height as it goes across. So it's a very carefully calibrated tool. Now it's good, but what this gentleman over here is using in that white box is an even fancier profilometer. It's called an atomic force microscope, and those are actually designed to measure nanometer level changes in height using an almost atomically sharp tip. So atomic force microscopy has been around since late 80s, early 90s, and it has been become a tool, very important tool. And so this profilometer is kind of the starting point. AFM has got a bunch of other capabilities that allow it to measure basically by feeling the surface with that tip. So to probe it and map it out using rastering it back and forth, and to find the features. So
outside of tolerance is possible.
But Rui, sorry, we're is it okay? We just fixed it. Okay, thank you. You can continue. I just wanted to make sure it was okay that they were filming this. This is for Purdue stuff,
So there's never ever really a true photograph of this. It's all based on topography of feeling the surface and seeing the surface. Am I wrong on that, or am I?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that statement?
Like, for instance, that's the surface of.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. So it's building up that image by knowing where that tip was at a given moment.
Okay, yeah,
and
it
then
feels
building up
it. Yeah, because I remember speaking with the Nano, some of the grad students here, and they were kind of describing that to us as they were building different micro machines and so forth. So.
It turns out right now we are making a big focus on semiconductors. The CHIPS Act, right, which was the law passed last year, which was trying to really juice up our semiconductor manufacturing and our workforce development, has become a big focus. And industry needs the workforce. We're trying to train them, and our country needs to make them here. So that's become a much bigger focus in the last couple
There's
years.
a huge supply for people in this field, but a huge demand, but very little supply as far as like.
That's right. Yeah, we need 100,000 people in about 10 years.
Wow.
Fewer than 10 years. Yeah.
What are the yellow lights? Why are the lights yellow?
The lights are yellow. That's because, as you might be remembering from clean rooms for photographic processes, blue light will expose the photoresist, and that's the photolithography bay over there. So blue light will develop that. And so what you want to do is you want to work in an environment where if you have to put on you have a little spinner here which spins on the resist, and you want to take it over there, you don't want the blue light to ruin all of it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's the.
Those are more difficult to photogrammetry because of the reflective surface.
Oh, okay.
But that doesn't mean you can't get references in 3D.
Oh, let's see. Yeah.
You needed it. Are you looking for any kind of exact replica, or are you looking for something like you want some visualizations to show what you guys are doing, or what could you use?
Well, so we have a big project with Dassault Systems, the SolidWorks people. They're making a digital twins. They have a digital twins project.
Okay.
They're committing resources to it. They're coming through and doing similar stuff.
Like
for the purpose of
laser scanning or something like that?
I think it's laser scanning, yeah.
Okay.
For the purpose of what's called statistical process control. And they're going to make a digital twin, and then they will have basically a physical and functional representation of the instrument virtually.
Well, it's been a great time getting some photogrammetry reference and so forth. We want to give a special thanks to Neil here and the entire facility here at the Birck Nanotechnology Center. Again, much appreciation from them just for collaboration and showing us all this. It's been really gracious of you to allow us to come in here and see what you guys are doing. So,
I really enjoy doing it, and I appreciate the collaboration. Getting these collaborations going on. This is really important. Scifres Nanofabrication Lab, clean room where we were, is a really a leading facility. It's 25,000 square feet and a really substantial area, and all this wonderful equipment that you're able to see. And so I hope you guys are back, and I'd love to see what this turns into. So.
yeah, you'll definitely see it.
Okay.
So anyway, check out information at the bottom for more about the Birck Nanotechnology Center. I'm probably saying it wrong, but and from there, just keep an eye out for more episodes.